Swayam Prabha, Digital India, Educated India.
Good evening. So, let us look at various possible canonical transformations in phase space. Phase space consists of generalized coordinates and generalized momenta, and in transformed coordinate system there would be another set of generalized coordinates and generalized momentum. So, any one of these variables which are called phase variables may be retained from old system and a new variable may be chosen. So, a function facilitating this kind of transformation, which is also known as generating function, can involve any of old coordinate and any of new phase variable. So, this leads to 4 kinds of generating functions. So, we have already done one kind of generating function, which was function of two generalized coordinates. One was old one and one was new one. That we represented by symbol f earlier. So, that was the first kind of thing. So, now let us look at other kind of generating function. So, for that we again go back to Hamilton's principle. So, P dqi sum over I minus dqi, this minus h dt plus k dt. In this transformation, if we use this generating function, old Hamiltonian goes to new Hamiltonian. So, that is h is old Hamiltonian, k is new Hamiltonian, and that we wrote d of f. So, now we are writing d of f 1, which is function of two sets of generalized coordinates and time, right. Now, we can add to this according to our convenience. So, let us write q I dpi sum over I plus sum over pi dqi. So, what is that? This is total derivative of qi pi, right. So, this is total derivative of this. If we add both of them, so let us say this is 1 and this is 2, adding 1 and 2. If we add two equations, you see this pi dqi, these two cancels. So, what do we get? We get pi dqi, and this part let us put in color, they cancel if I add both of them, right. So, we get plus qi dpi, and I goes from 1 to n, 1 to n. What is n? N is the number of degree of freedom. N is number of degrees of freedom. Okay. So, we have n generalized coordinate, n generalized momentum and one variable time. minus h dt plus k dt. Now, what is going to be on the right hand side? D. I add f1 which is function of q, both the q's, plus qi pi sum over i, that is what we have, and this we are going to call d of f2, which would be function of, in general, old one has appeared here and a pi has come. So, it would be second kind of generating function. Okay. So, we have this equation. Okay. So, we have this equation. Now, let us say this is equation 3, and as f2 is a function of q, p and t, what is df2 means? Total derivative of f2 will mean partial derivative of f2, partial derivative of f2 with respect to qi sum over I dqi, plus partial derivative of f2 with respect to pi dpi, plus partial derivative of f2 with respect of time dt. So, if we substitute this, inserting this is 4, inserting equation 4 in equation 3. So, what do we get? Pi dqi sum over I, right, qi dpi minus h dt plus k dt equal to, this can be written as dou f2 dou qi sum over I dqi plus dou f2 dou pi dpi sum over I and plus dou f2 dou t dt, right. So, now let us say compute coefficients of similar types of terms. So, here we have done f is function of old coordinate q, but new coordinate p. So, these are actually new coordinate, this is not old coordinate. So, this is pi pi, that is what we have here. So, this has to be corrected here also. So, this is pi dpi, right. Now, you see we have to take coefficients of this and coefficient of this. So, if we do that, so what do we arrive at? Pi ith old momentum can be written as partial derivative of F2 with respect to old coordinate. This is function of q, p and t, and if we take the coefficient of d pi, so new generalized coordinate would be dou F2 q, p and t, its derivative with respect to pi for I 1, 2, 3 n, right. And what about new Hamiltonian? So, if we take coefficients of dt both the sides, so k is h goes to other side. So, we get k which is new Hamiltonian, k is my new Hamiltonian, this is old Hamiltonian, okay, plus F2 dot t. This is function of q, p and t, and let us write here also their dependence. So, this k is function of q, p, t, that is h, q, p, t, and so we have this kind of relationship with second kind of generating function. So, first kind of generating function depended on one old generalized coordinate and one new generalized coordinate, and second kind of generating function depends on one old generalized coordinate, but one new generalized momentum. So, that is how we get this relationship. Okay. Now, we will go to third kind of generating function, right. So, we already did all details with first kind of generating function, and we have already done here second kind of generating function. So, now let us go to third kind of generating function. Okay. So, F3 depends on P, Q and T. So, to get it, what you require? First kind of generating function, and now if I put a minus Q I P I. If I do that, so Q is common and uppercase Q appears here, lowercase p appears here. Okay. So, it would be a function of these two things, that is what is appearing in F3. So, this is my third kind of. So, all these transformations which I am writing from one set of generalized generating function to other set of generating functions, they are called Legendre transformation. In mathematics, these are called Legendre transformation. So, whenever I am going from one set to other set, so that is what I am trying to use. Okay. So, again I begin from Hamilton's principle, which leads to sum over P I d q I minus sum over P I d q I in new sets of variable minus h d t plus k dt, and that is equal to we begin with the first one because we have shown that. So, this is total derivative of this one, right, as we have done in equation 1 earlier. Okay. So, now again we have to add on both the sides. So, if I take d of sum over p I q I or q I p I. So, this means I have p I d q I plus sum over q I d p I. This is equal to that, and the definition requires here minus sign, because which one we want to cancel. If we take plus sign, they are going to be added. So, this is what we want to be cancelled, so that there would be relationship between this q, lowercase q and uppercase p, etc. So, some other relationship will come. So, I put minus sign both the sides and then add them. So, adding we had gone earlier up to equation 4. So, let us look at equation number 3, 4. Okay. So, we had gone to 4 and this was 1. This was 1 and other we will say 5. Adding 1 and 5, they cancel. So, we are left with minus p I d q I minus q I d p I minus h d t plus k d t and equal to d f 1 minus q I p I. That is what we are going to get, and this is what we are calling f of 3, and f of 3 is going to be function of p, q and t by Legendre transformation. That is what we have done. Okay. So, this is 6. Formally, p is a function, f 3 is a function of p, q and t. So, its differential would be partial derivative of f 3 with respect to p, partial derivative of f 3 with respect to new generalized coordinate d q I, partial derivative of f 3 with respect to t dt. So, inserting this in equation 6. So, this makes equation 6 as p I d q I q I d p I minus h d t k d t equal to. Now, we have various terms. So, now you must have understood the technology we are using. Once we have decided which generating function we want to work with, procedure is similar, plus dou f 3 dou t dt. Now, again let us equate coefficients of dqi together, coefficient of dpi together and coefficient of dt together. If we do that, so we are going to have, let us say, coefficient of dqi. So, we are going to have pi equal to minus dou f3 dou qi, and f3 is function of small p till q and t. That is what. Okay. Now, we take the coefficients of dpi, the differential dpi, then we get old coordinate in terms of this generating function, this is pi, and again with a minus sign, this is function of qt for I 1 to n. And what about Hamiltonian? New Hamiltonian is h plus dou f3 dou t, and which is function of p, q and t. So, this is another type of generating function that generates a canonical transformation from one sets of phase variables to other set of phase variable. Okay. So, we are left with one more type of canonical transformation, and that is the fourth one. So, F4. So, what we are left with? This is what we are left with. So, that is the fourth one, right. So, if we want to connect it with, let us say, second one. So, second one was q p t and minus q I p I sum over, right. So, this is what, and what was F2? F2 was F1 this plus q I p I minus. So, in terms of F1, F4 we require summation of two products. So, this is also Legendre transformation of different kind. So, now we again begin with Hamilton's principle, and that gives me the variation of integral L dt, and L is right doing 0, that is what is when L can be written in terms of Hamiltonian, and then for old Hamiltonian and new Hamiltonian. So, this is what leads to P dqi minus pi dqi equal minus h dt plus k dt equal to, we always start with the first one q q t, because that is what we had shown, and that is what is from the properties of Lagrangian. A two Lagrangian which differ from total time derivative of a function of coordinates, then Lagrange's equation of motion remains invariant, right. So, that is what we are doing. So, this together is Lagrange Hamilton's principle, black one, sorry. So, that comes from Hamilton's principle, and another, this comes from also Hamilton's principle for new Lagrangian, and black one with older Lagrangian, and their differences of after applying Hamilton's principle is a total derivative. Dt is written this side, other if I take dt other side, it would be total time derivative of a function of coordinates. So, when we start from that basic structure, and after that whatever generating function we want, using this Legendre transformation we go further. Okay. So, now we have to add both the sides to this equation something, so that we go to a particular one. So, this time we have to add two things. So, we will this is equation 1, and we have already we used, if I take total derivative of q I p I, can write I q I d p I plus p I d q I. This was equation 2 earlier. Yes. So, this was equation 2 earlier. So, this was equation 2, and we also require sum over q I p I. So, q I d p I sum over plus I p I d q I minus sign both the sides, and this also we have used earlier, and we called this as equation 5. Okay. So, that was my equation 5. Now, adding two and 5, okay, 1, 2 and 5. So, adding all these three equations. So, we will get what we are looking for. So, adding 1 plus 2 plus 5. So, if we add all of them, so you see p I d q I, this will cancel with this, and what else will this p I d q I, that will cancel with this, and whatever is left, that is what we are going to write now. Okay. So, we are left with sum over I q I d p I minus sum over I q I d p I minus h d t plus k d t equals to d of f1 first generating function plus sum over q I p I minus sum over q I p I, and this is d of total derivative of fourth generating function, which is function of P, both the P's, new and old one, and that is what we have. Okay. So, this is my equation 6. 6 is there. So, this is my equation 7. Okay. Now, F4 is a function of P, both the P's. So, I can write this one, okay, as sum over I partial derivative of 4 with pi dpi plus partial derivative of f4 with uppercase pi dpi, and here summation over I plus derivative of f4 with respect to dt dt. Okay. So, now let us find out again coefficients of similar terms. This is here coefficients of similar terms, and then we will have dt dt and dt. So, if we do that, so then we arrive at q I equal to partial derivative of f4 with pi, and f4 is function of p and t, and similarly coefficients of lowercase pi. So, that is going to give me q I is minus dou 4 dou pi p and t for all i's. So, if there are n degrees of freedom, so I goes from 1 to n. And what about new Hamiltonian? New Hamiltonian, you see, if I take the coefficients of dt, so new Hamiltonian h with minus sign goes other side. So, h plus partial derivative of the generating function. So, this is h plus partial derivative of f4 with respect to time. This is function of, right. So, we have different kinds of generating functions. So, in phase space there are 4 different kinds of generating functions: f1, f2, f3 and f4. So, f1 is f1 which we wrote in the beginning, f2 is okay. So, okay, so here I do that. F1 is q t. So, that was our old function, and F2 was q p and t. It was equal to this plus sum over q I p I. So, that was our Legendre transformation. F3 was p q t, it was F1 q t minus I Qi Pi, and F4 which was this function. So, this was F2 which was Q P and T minus I Q I P I. So, there are different kinds of generating functions, and canonical transformations in phase space are conducted using these 4 generating functions. So, what we learned today? We learned about transformations of phase variables such that Hamilton's canonical equations, the form of Hamilton's canonical equations remain invariant, and that is why these transformations are called canonical transformations. I also showed you couple of examples. So, one should do more details and can look at for the reference Goldstein, classical mechanics. So, reference I have given initially, but again classical mechanics, Goldstein. Okay. Now, we switch over to the part that is so far left, and that is what is rigid body motion, motion of a rigid body. We have done some part initially. Motion of a rigid body. Okay. So, if we have a rigid body, the distance between any two particles cannot change, and same time let us say this is a body. So, distance between these two particles will not change, and if you take a third particle, so this angle will also remain intact. So, distance between 2 points should not change, and this angle made between two lines joining 2 points will remain intact, otherwise it is a deformable body. So, that is what is the assumption we begin with, and for simplicity we may consider a discrete particle. A rigid body consists of discrete particles, so that whenever we have to add the effects at each points, we will take a sum, but for a continuous system an integration is required, sum would be replaced by an integration. So, when rigid body let us say moves, so what happens? Whenever a rigid body moves, its center of mass, let us say it has some center of mass. So, it will center of mass will move. So, it has somewhere center of mass. So, that is going to move, and with center of mass there may be some rotation about any axis or about all three axes. So, to describe the motion of a rigid body, what are required? the first part, motion of its center of mass, right. So, for that we require 3 degrees of freedom. If a rigid body has to move in space, then let us say Cartesian coordinates you may consider for formulation or any coordinate system. So, it will require 3 degrees of freedom for the motion of its center of mass, and about center of mass there could be rotation about any axis, then there is motion about its center of mass, that will also require 3 coordinates. So, if a body is moving, if you can choose a let us say first I choose a coordinate system x, y, z. So, its center of mass requires 3 coordinates which may be x, y, z, right. Similarly, with center of mass, now if there is a rotation about center of mass, again we require some 3 coordinates, let us say x 1, x 2, x 3. So, we require 3 more degrees of freedom. So, describe the dynamics of a perfectly rigid body, we require 3 plus 3 equal to 6 degrees of freedom, right. And this is greatly simplified because rigid body may consist of large number of particles, but the assumption distance between any 2 point does not change during its motion, and if you consider 2 straight lines connecting different points which are not parallel to each, or even if they are parallel to each other, the orientation, let us say if I consider any 2 points, I have a line inside the rigid body and I consider any set of another 2 point. So, their angle orientations also remains intact. Then we require only 6 degrees of freedom to describe its equation of motion. So, that is a great simplification. Okay. So, now we will try to find out how to look at some of the properties. So, let us say this I have a coordinate system which is fixed in lab frame. So, x, y, z. So, this is inertial frame of reference or a fixed frame of reference. So, there is a rigid body that is moving. So, its center of mass is also moving. So, let us say O is its center of mass. So, it has also we have chosen orthogonal coordinate system here. So, they are x 1, x 2, x 3. Okay. And the center of mass has a radius vector r. It is okay. So, center of mass has a radius vector r. I write here, and let us consider any point on the rigid body. So, it has some coordinate r with respect to this moving frame of reference, which is fixed at center of mass, and it has another, let us say, with respect to the fixed frame, its radius vector is r, written differently. Okay. So, this is new x 1 axis. Okay. So, this r is with respect to moving frame of reference. So, with a coordinate system that has an origin at center of mass, this r has a coordinate system with respect to the fixed frame of reference x, y and z, and r is the center of mass, radius vector of center of mass with respect to the fixed frame x cm, y cm, z cm. So, that is what it is. Okay. However, it is not mandatory to consider the origin at center of mass of the moving frame. Although choosing center of mass as the origin for a coordinate system fixed with the moving body simplifies calculation a lot. So, most of the time we will consider that, but for we will also consider a possibility where the origin is not at the center of mass. When we do that, it would be mentioned. Okay. So, now the velocity of any particle, let us say x or p here on the rigid body. So, p when it is moving, it has a translational motion because center of mass is moving, and with center of mass there may be a rotation. So, in general rigid body has a translational motion and one rotational motion. So, this v is the velocity of the point arbitrarily chosen point p with respect to the fixed frame of reference, and uppercase V is the velocity of center of mass frame, right, and there is some omega which is d phi dt. D phi is the angle, elementary angle. The rigid body is rotated about an axis with respect to a fixed frame in the moving body in time dt. So, d phi dt gives you the angular velocity with respect to the origin O or axis about which it is rotating passing through O. So, this is what is omega. So, what is the velocity has two parts. So, velocity of this point P is because there is a translational motion. So, because of translational motion there is velocity v and there is a rotational motion. So, that is omega cross r. This r is the radius vector as seen from moving frame of reference, which is fixed in the rigid body, right. So, you can see this comes. So, displacement has two parts. When rigid body moves, any point P in the rigid body will also move. So, point P is displaced in time dt by an amount dr as observed from fixed frame of reference. So, it has dr plus d phi cross r. This is what is the displacement of point P with respect to the origin O, which is in the rigid body. So, if I take time derivative, this leads to this equation d phi by dt is omega. So, this is what is one equation. Okay. Now, before going to general results, let us consider a case if this origin O was not at center of mass. If the origin O was not at the center of mass, but at any other point, at any other point O prime. Okay. If it was not at O, but slightly shifted or anywhere other than the center of mass, such that O prime, this vector is vector A, some constant vector. Let us say if I consider the origin at some place which is slightly shifted. So, then what will happen? So, if that is the case, then this r would be r prime plus a, that is what we will get it. So, v, the velocity that we observed was v plus omega cross r. Now, this v plus omega cross r has become r prime plus a. So, if we write v plus omega cross a plus omega cross r prime, right. So, if we write this, so we have to write this in this format, some velocity of the point of the origin, new origin, and some omega cross r. Then we have to write v prime omega prime, because we do not know what is omega prime, etc. So, we are trying to write this in this format. So, this is v and this is also v. So, now if you compare both of them, if we compare both of them, So, what do we get? We get this term as this and this term as this one. So, we get this relationship. So, if we have such relationship, then what is my V prime? V prime is V plus omega cross A, and omega prime is omega. Omega prime is not, because this was omega cross r prime, this is also some omega prime cross r prime. This we have assumed it may be omega prime, but when you compare the similar format, then you find this omega prime has to be omega. So, these are the two relationship, and this particular one is very important one. What it is telling? It is telling the angular velocity of a rigid body about an axis in the rigid body is independent of choice of the origin. Omega, which is angular velocity, is independent of the choice of the origin. So, even if we had chosen origin in moving rigid body not at its center of mass, but anywhere else, the angular velocity is not going to change, it will remain the same. So, that is a very important property of a rigid body in motion. Okay. We generally consider origin at center of mass to simplify many calculations. Okay. So, we will, center of mass, we will come to this later. So, important property of angular velocity is it is independent of the choice of origin. We will discuss it in the next class. Thank you very much.